Hello everyone, Bard here, and welcome to another Top 10 list. It's pretty rare for a TV show nowadays to have a bad episode. A lot of them have fun stories, great characters, and scenes that are always enjoyable and never tend to back down from anything for both kids and adults. Well, that's all about to change because I have a list of my least favorite episodes from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Now keep in mind that most of these choices are based on a few nitpicks, and while many of their episodes are fine, the ones I have contain scenarios that really bother me. So, let's begin a list that isn't expected. This is my top 10 least favorite MLP episodes. Number 10. Leap of Faith. During the 4th season, there are some episodes that became a story arc for the two-parter episodes at the beginning and end of the season. And while one or two didn't grab me and made much sense, this one is the most bothersome to me. When the Apple family goes out swimming, Granny Smith refuses to swim due to her aches and pains, but remembers when she was an aqua pony, doing high dives and such. But the Flim Flam brothers come in to sell a tonic that can cure an old pony's aches and pains. And as soon as Granny Smith uses it, she goes back into swimming again. And Apple Bloom and her get into doing synchronized swimming. But Applejack thinks the tonic is a fake. Now the scenes with Granny Smith and Apple Bloom swimming are pretty nice, but most of it tends to go back and forth and have no clear answer about the tonic. Yes, the Flim Flam brothers are con artists, and yes, Applejack is right about the tonic, but did she have to lie saying that it was real? Couldn't she at least taste it to make sure it was fake? It just makes it all the more confusing when there's no explanation about how Granny Smith can swim without the tonic. Was it self-confidence or a miracle? In any case, I really don't get it. It's just a confusing episode with pretty swimming scenes that don't make it any better. It makes it questionable. Number 9. What about Discord? So by the time Discord became a good guy by the end of the 4th season, which is kind of weird seeing as how he was reformed a season earlier but still has his mischief side, there are a couple of episodes that feature him in a quote-unquote good manner, and this latest one with him is an exception. Twilight returns to Ponyville from Canterlot to find out that her friends have been hanging out with Discord while she was gone, and she tries to find out what they were doing through the vague clues she was given. But the thing is, she's not given enough to know what happened. I really wanted to know what was going on than just saying things like it involves oranges and snakes, and there was an unexplained joke that was funny to them but not to Twilight. It's like Leap of Faith where the confusion of the scenario made me not get it. And even the message of the episode is hard to get. Why can't Discord and the others tell what happened? Unless it's something risque, then don't bother. But I just wanted to know what happened, and watching it again won't do any favors. It's another confusing episode that needs more explaining than just what was given. Number 8. All's well that ends well. When introducing a character, the show does fine in doing so, but sometimes it brings up a bit of confusion and even mean-spiritedness, especially for Spike. An owl arrives at Twilight's library and helps her out with what she needs, driving Spike into a fit of jealousy and tries to rid the owl, whom Twilight named Aloysius, so he can be Twilight's assistant. While it is an okay episode for the most part, it certainly becomes mean-spirited and depressing by the end of the second act, which will become a theme for most of these. I mean, in scenes where Spike tries to cause harm for Aloysius, there's no need to have Twilight snap at Spike and have him run away. They just come out of nowhere. And it is confusing on how much it looks like Aloysius is gonna take Spike's place, but ends up helping Spike in the end. Sure, this could be a number 10 spot, but the mean-spiritedness is a little too much. But there is another episode where its mean-spiritedness and confusion is very hard to handle, and that's the next one. Number 7. One Bad Apple. Much like the last episode on the list, this also introduces a character fine, but again, its mean-spiritedness and confusion brings up problems for me, and here is one with the CMCs. Apple Bloom's cousin, Babs Seed, comes to Ponyville, and the CMCs want her to be on their team, since she has no cutie mark. But Babs ends up joining with Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, and becomes a bully to the CMCs. And so the CMCs try to get back at her. Now the mean-spiritedness is more hard to handle because it's a relative bullying a family member and her friends, and it becomes too much and goes too far than the last one, and vice versa when the CMCs get revenge. But its confusion is even more baffling. There is a reason why Babs becomes the bully, but it's not explained clearly enough. And it's even more confusing when Babs starts out shy but turns against her cousin when Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon show up. It's a mess of an episode. If the mean-spiritedness was toned down and the confusion was clearly explained, then it would be fine. But no, it's too jumbled of an episode to get behind. And this would be one bad apple that I wouldn't eat up. Number 6. Flight to the Finish. Whenever an episode of the CMCs come around, sometimes it's okay, but other times it's hard to get through considering the subject of the episode. In this one, the CMCs are creating a unique way to carry the Ponyville flag in order to be selected for the Equestria Games. But of course Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon mock the CMCs, but mostly for the fact that Scootaloo can't fly, which forces her to keep on practicing the routine so she can fly, making Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle worried for her determination. I do hate episodes where Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon mock the CMCs, and the CMCs in turn bring in a depressing setup, not just for them, but for all the characters. And even when Scootaloo keeps practicing, she doesn't say that Diamond Tiara made her do it, or that she can't fly to her friends, especially to Rainbow Dash. If Scootaloo told the truth, then the episode would be okay, but she doesn't. Yes, it has a good song and a good ending, but most of it is really underwhelming. For a trio of fillies whose only episode I really like is a holiday one, all the rest have not much to offer, until the 5th season. It is an episode that really needs to bring out the truth than just saying you can't do it. That, and it's a bit mean-spirited and out of nowhere by the end of the 2nd act. Number 5. Too Many Pinkie Pie. It's rare for an episode about Pinkie to be bad, because she's such a likable character, and one that steals the show for many. But while this one has a unique setup, it's quite tedious by its 2nd act. With having to spend so much time with her friends going on all at once, Pinkie wonders what to do about it, until she comes across a pool that can clone herself. But the clone ends up cloning itself, and so on and so forth, that Pinkie has no choice but to send them all to her friends. But the clones cause havoc throughout Ponyville, putting the real Pinkie into a big depression when she and her friends can't tell if she's the real one. Now, the idea of having a silly character clone him or herself is a fun one, and has been done a couple of times in the past. But this one becomes too tedious and depressing the minute Pinkie and her friends don't know her from the clones. And even when Twilight fixes the problem, there may be a slight chance that she's a clone. But then, we would already know that the sad Pinkie is the real Pinkie, so why can't her friends immediately tell that she's the real one, instead of just having all the clones watch paint drying to rid them one by one? It's so unbearable. It's not really funny, it's pretty pointless, and it's a huge waste. And it's one episode that doesn't need to exist, even if it's a clone. Number 4. A Canterlot Wedding Part 1. Now, the 2-parter episodes aren't really my thing. Sure, they introduce new characters, especially villains, and always begin and end the season with a change for the new season. With 2 exceptions, of course. But they have climaxes that don't feel right and bring up problems for characters, mostly Twilight, that come off as pretty painful. And this first part of the 2nd season finale has just that. The main 6 receive a letter from Canterlot, saying that Shining Armor, who's Twilight's brother, is getting married to Princess Cadance, who was Twilight's sitter, and the main 6 are to help with the wedding. But Twilight suspects that something's wrong with Cadance, and is convinced that she's not Cadance, when, of course, no one believes her. I didn't add part 2 here because it shows a cool villain, good songs, and Twilight isn't picked on. But the first part is not really embarrassing in the last few minutes, but really painful when no one believes Twilight, her friends, her brother, and even Celestia. And besides, the color of quote-unquote Cadence's magic is an obvious sign that something is bad, and yet no one in the episode can figure that out. While most of the episode is just okay, I find the ending to be very harsh, mean, despicable, and painful. And while the second part has one or two problems like how did the villain get into Canterlot without being noticed, the first part is easily not the best out of the two. Number 3. The Cutie Map Part 1 and 2. Yep, I'm putting both two-part episodes because not only do they work as one, but they do present a major problem that I can't get behind, which we'll get into soon. In this two-parter 5th season premiere, the main 6 come to a village in need of a friendship problem, and discover that every pony has the same cutie mark, and are content with it. And the village's leader, Starlight Glimmer, offers the main 6 to give up their cutie marks and become one of them. But when the main 6 are about to solve the problem, Starlight takes their cutie marks, locks them up until they are content, and thus one of the main 6 has to join them in order to continue with their mission. And this is a problem I have with these two-parters. The main 6 give up too easily, even Twilight. I mean, for Twilight, she is a smart pony, and she's just gonna give up by the beginning of part 2? It's like Rainbow Rocks all over again. Can't these makers at least let her keep trying? But it's not only that. There is also a climax in part 1 that I couldn't get into, not much of an explanation as to why the village is like this, and a friendship problem that didn't get solved all the way through. And while Starlight's friendship problem continues in the Season 5 two-parter finale with more confusion, I really think this one is insufferable enough. There's too many letdowns with this, and saying that is not enough to describe it. It's a two-parter episode that's not only painful, but really weak in its setup. Number 2. The Return of Harmony Part 1 and 2. Here's another two-part episode, but this one's worse than the last one. Not only is the Twilight giving up portion in it, but they tend to go a little too far with some mean-spiritedness and add comedy that just isn't funny. In this two-parter second season premiere, Princess Celestia wants the main 6 to retrieve the elements of harmony, to stop Discord, who has already caused chaos ever since he's freed from Celestia's magic. But Discord hid the elements in a maze, and one by one, he curses 5 of the main 6 as their opposite, and Twilight gives up, until Celestia sends in a letter of encouragement, and goes out to fix her friends and stop Discord. While this does introduce Discord and all his silly chaos, a whole bunch of it is very mean-spirited and unfunny when 5 of the main 6 are cursed and remain cursed until the end of the second part. It goes way too far and it is so unlikable that really, why on earth can't the cursed ponies be back to their normal selves at the end of the first part? It just goes on, and on, and on. Sure, the beginning of the first part and the end of the second part is okay, I guess. Nothing about the rest of it is any good. It becomes too mean-spirited, too depressing, so unfunny, and so grating that it's just too much to handle. And there is absolutely nothing to gain from this. And my number 1 least favorite MLP episode is Ponyville Confidential. As much as I like the CMCs and their determination to get cutie marks, this episode has got to be the most painful and depressing I ever had to watch. The CMCs try to get their cutie marks as journalists for the school paper, but once Diamond Tiara becomes head of the paper, she has the CMCs write gossip about every pony, and, under the name Gabby Gums, the CMCs become successful in school, but not to the whole Ponyville community. It is the most insufferable episode I had to sit through, and a very questionable one too. Why did Diamond Tiara get chosen to head the paper, and why get rid of her in the end? Do it in the middle is all I care. How did the whole Ponyville community know about Gabby Gums and who it was related to? You could say that was word of mouth or the Phillies brought the school paper home, but then the gossip makes it to the main papers, and how and when did that happen? And did all of Ponyville have to shut out the CMCs for this? It's more mean-spirited, depressing, and grating than the last one on this list. Thank goodness the CMCs get their cutie marks by Season 5 and are better than before, because if I had to sit through another CMC episode like this, I would definitely skip it. It's beyond painful to make words out of, it is the worst episode of the series, and it is my least favorite MLP episode. And besides, what other thing has the show made that isn't the least bit painful? Excuse me one sec. Thank you. I believe you gave me the wrong package! This won't end well. Thumbelina. The movie is based on the fairy tale of the same name by Hans Christian Andersen. Though why his name is above the title when some parts in the film are pretty loose, 10 favorite episodes. Number 10.